This statement right here, living word. So he just said that him and his dad always had an unspoken understanding that if he sees what he needs to see, then he's going to do what he has to do. So Shawn said it was unspoken, but I feel like it was spoken. I feel like this was talked about beforehand. Of course it was. It had to be. This was definitely talked about. If he sees what he needs to see, then he's going to stop the fight. Now, what is it that he needs to see? I mean, you probably would have to ask him in order to know exactly what it is. But by him seeing what he saw, which was Shawn Porter in a situation, in a state that us as boxing fans have never seen him in. His father being his father, but also being his trainer, also being the guy who works with Shawn, and also seeing him throughout the entire amateur circuit. His father being his father saw that and decided that this is what I need to see, and I'm stopping this fight. Timing was off, but also he lost his composure. He lost his focus. He was banging on the ground after he had got knocked down that second time. He was banging on the ground after he had got knocked down that second time. Like, that's frustration right there. Different people react to frustration differently. But when you're in the middle of a fight, the last thing you want to do is lose your cool. In the middle of a fight, the coolest person is usually the person who's the most successful. The person who's able to maintain discipline and focus, that's usually the person who ends up winning the fight. You can't fight off of emotion when you're in the ring. You have to fight strategically. You have to fight logically. You have to fight very pragmatic-like when you're in the ring. When you lose your composure, that's almost the same as losing your life in the middle of a ring. Shawn Porter threw a whole temper tantrum in the middle of the ring. I'm not confident that he would have survived. And I don't think his dad was confident that he would have survived. And then if you take into consideration what his dad said about training camp on top of that, which, I mean, you can choose to believe or not. But to me, it just adds fuel to the fire. So, like, with Shawn Porter in general, normally that you would be able to rely on his conditioning. Like, when he fought Adrian Broner, he had really good conditioning to the point where he got knocked down. But even though he got knocked down, he was still very strong after he was able to get up from being knocked down. He was still be able to fight. He was able to recover quicker. That's really what I mean to say. The recovery is what you hang your hat on when your conditioning is there. But when your conditioning's not there, you're not able to recover as good. When you're a little bit older, you're not necessarily able to recover as well. So that upgrade in age and that downgrade in conditioning is what makes this situation dangerous for Shawn Porter. Shawn had gotten knocked down, right? But he had gotten knocked down again maybe like 2 or 3 seconds after the first knockdown. So we got to take that into consideration. We also got to take into consideration that he had gotten knocked down. Okay, so it wasn't like they threw in the towel like right after he had just taken an accumulation of punches. No, this dude had left his feet at least twice. He looked like he was on shaky legs. He had already been down twice, and he was taking clean, hard shots from Terence Crawford. So you take that into consideration, and you also take into consideration that you're dealing with the pound for pound #1 fighter, a guy who has power in both hands, and a guy who's a known finisher, known to really hurt people when he has them hurt. And Shawn Porter was clearly hurt. Maybe Shawn wanted to go out on his shield like Deontay Wilder went out in that Fury fight. Maybe Shawn wanted to do something like that. And hey, I respect that if that's what he wanted to do. But I mean, I get why Kenny Porter stopped the fight. It was either going to be him or was it going to be the ref. I think the ref would have stopped it very shortly afterwards if he hadn't have stopped it. But I think one thing that I don't want is like the narrative right now. Like the narrative is that I feel like people are trying to paint right now. A lot of people are trying to paint is that Shawn could have possibly went on to win the fight if Kenny hadn't stopped it. You know what I mean? Like, there's people online who are like, I feel like who are trying to push that kind of narrative. Like Shawn could have went on and win the fight. You never know. I mean, Shawn's been knocked down before. He's never been knocked down like that. I mean, he was knocked down by Adrian Broner, but he got right back up when he was knocked down versus Adrian Broner. He was a little wobbly, but Shawn was also in very good condition in those fights and was able to maintain. Shawn's never gotten knocked down twice in a row, but then also got knocked down twice in a row within seconds of each other, right? But then when you take that into consideration, and then you also take into consideration that there was about 2 minutes left on the clock. There was 2 minutes left on the clock in the round. So it's not like there was a bell coming or he could have been saved by the bell. There was no being saved by the bell. You got 2 minutes left in the ring. You're hurt badly. Okay? Because you just got knocked down twice. And then at the same time, you're in the ring with the guy who's a known finisher. I think what was inevitable was for him to get flattened, was for him to be stretched out on the canvas and possibly hurt a lot worse. I think his father/trainer did the right thing. I think any trainer would have done the same thing. Any trainer that cares about his fighter would have did the same thing. Like, hey man, I'm not about to let you die in the ring. Like, could have died in the ring, man. He was hurt bad. He had already taken some hellacious shots throughout the entirety of the fight. And then it was just getting worse as the fight progressed because Terence Crawford was actually getting stronger and Shawn Porter was getting weaker. Yeah, he had 2 rounds left, but that's a long time, bro. You make it sound like 2 rounds is nothing. 2 rounds is a long time, man. 3 minutes in a round. And he had half of that round. He had majority of that round left. You know what I mean? He had 2 minutes left in the 10th, and then he had the whole 11th and the 12th. So that's 6 minutes plus 2, 8 minutes. 8 minutes is a long time, my guy. Living word. 8 minutes is a long time, man. Most people only fight for 30 seconds. Like regular people on the street. For them, 30 minutes. For them, 30 seconds is a long fight. For them, 30 seconds is like a drag out kind of fight. So for you to tell me that Shawn had 2 rounds left, he had a full 8 minutes. A full 8 minutes to go. Being in that kind of condition on wobbly legs, being dropped twice. I mean, most warrior fighters, they want to fight on, man. I don't know if you've seen that fight with Endom and Yambek. Living word. Go and watch that fight with Endom and Yambek. It was a similar kind of situation. Endom was getting beat the fuck up. Mouth, nose, everything bloodied up. Yanbek was just pounding on this man. As long as the fight went on, Yanbek was pounding on him. The fight didn't actually stop until the ref just waved it off because he was tired of seeing Endom just get beat up. And it's like guys like that, man, they want to fight. They will fight on until you tell them to stop. But what did Endom say? Endom said this, man. Endom was like, I was ready to die. That's what Endom said. That's the type of mentality that you have to have in order to be a fighter. You got to be ready to die in the ring. They ready to die in the ring. They know what it takes. They know that they could die at any moment in there, and they ready to do it. And they not gonna stop until you kill them. So the question for you, Living Word, is: would you have been okay with seeing Porter die in the ring? Because that's what most fighters are willing to accept as the consequence for them doing certain things, like Shawn Porter. The consequence for seeing them fight the way they fight. They understand that death is around the corner in them situations, and they're okay with that. But are you okay with watching that as a fight fan? Are you okay with watching Shawn Porter die in the ring? Is his dad okay with watching his son die in the ring? I mean, these are the questions that we got to ask ourselves when we talk about early stoppages and things like that.